very ordinary, just like anybody else. I just make a lot of ordinary food in our house. So, my sister started this company. It's called Spoon and Spatula. It's on the internet and everything. But she does like little kid cooking classes, and she does freezer meals. And it's kind of funny how it all started, because it started out very, very ordinary, just like they said. She started with, she's one of these people that sees a need or something, and she's all gung-ho, and she'll start something and just start doing things. Well, a bunch of friends were like, we are frustrated with our daughters. We can't get them to cook. We can't get them, for whatever reasons, they're not listening to us. And she's like, well, why don't you bring them over to my house on this night, and I'll teach them how to cook. And they were all like, oh, score. So anyway, it started out with these 2 little girls. It ended up being 10. And she was like, more and more and more people were calling her. And she says, all right, I got to get a spot. So she got this little spot and made it this little store. Well, then she thought, okay, now I've got this store, I've got to do more than just little kid cooking classes. So she started these freezer meals, and it turned out awesome. She has the meat ready for them, and then they cut up their vegetables and do all that, put them into a freezer bag and throw them in the freezer, and they have all these meals. She does several different menus and things, so if you ever want a crock pot meal, just let me know. I can pretty much find you anything that she has. She has 40 different menus, so she has a bunch of different recipes. But the things with crock pot meals that are the most important, and this is tried and true, she's done this for a long time, I think 3 to 5 years. I can't remember how long she's been doing it. But she said, the one thing that you need to remember is when you freeze your meals, freeze them in the shape of your crock pot. How many of you have done this before? Have you ever froze meals? Yeah, have you ever frozen flat? Not a good option.
I haven't had problems. I mean, I have humongous crock pots, so I haven't had any problems with putting anything in. But I would have never thought, I've read some things where they freeze them in like, what are they called? Cereal boxes to get them to lay better.
Yes. So like this, if you have an oblong, you'll want to freeze it in that kind of shape. You also don't want to put them on the racks of your freezer. They mold right to them, and getting them off, it's rough. So they'll like slide down in, and you got fingers down in there. That's another thing that you want to remember when you freeze. If you do freeze them flat, there are ways that you can get around it. Now they just came out with a large, it's a 9x13 crock pot. It actually has like a stoneware pan in it, and it actually is a crock pot, but it's in the shape of a 9x13 pan. For me, that's rough because I need way more than one 9x13 pan to feed my family. I'll just be honest on that. But they do work. They have them at Target. They've got them at Walmart. They've got them at pretty much anywhere you can find a crock pot. You can find those 9x13 ones now. The other thing, if you do these a lot, and she said she's tried many different varieties of bags and what works the best, and she said that Ziploc brand actually is a little better. They're just a little bit thicker, and if you're going to freeze them for a longer space of time, they're better. And some of these recipes, you'll mix stuff in the bag, and so she said they seal a little bit nicer in that. And she said, I don't know if you guys are big Costco shoppers. I am. I'll be honest. But they have those sales that come through all the time, and whenever those come through, and they've got like $2.50 off the big box of them, they're not a bad price when you get them on that. And so they're about the same price as the cheaper bags, but you've got the nicer bag. Some people don't like to put the water in with their crock pot meals, but before they freeze them, because it just takes up that much more room in their freezer, depending on your freezer space. And so if If you don't want to, that's fine. You can just put it in as you put your frozen meal in. And a lot of people do that as well. She said it works both ways, it's fairly easy to do either one, whichever works the best for you. She said some of those same people, they don't like to put their like chicken broth in, so they'll actually just take a bouillon cube and a cup of water and throw that in later if you don't have the chicken broth. So those are kind of just some kind of a wide range of things that she's tried and worked and what doesn't work. And does anyone have any questions at this point that I can maybe help with? Okay.
What was her website?
It's called Spoon and Spatula.
Spoon and Spatula.
Yeah, and she's in Ogden, so yeah.
So it's .com?
Yeah.
Just search Spoon and Spatula online.
Yeah, it comes right up at Spoon and Spatula, Ogden, Utah. So it comes up on Google. I'm not exactly sure if it's .com or .net. But anyway, and the things that I have found too, I am not great at having large spaces of time to do like all my meals at once and freeze them. If you like some of the recipes, they do still work as putting them in and doing them that morning. It's not a have to freeze it. The other thing that she said that you want to remember as you do this, do not de-thaw them prior to putting them into your crock pot. They will be soggy and nasty. Put them straight in, frozen solid, and she said they don't get nasty that way. So that's the other thing that she said was super important. And she said, I don't know if you guys, whoever's on a budget or whatever, she kind of tries to stick with like,
Well, we just wondered, do you just cut the bag off?
yeah,
So you don't reuse it?
when you had raw meat in it, so it wouldn't be something that I would,
Well, and here's another question. You know those liners that you put in the crock pot?
yeah.
Could you freeze them in those?
I don't think they,
They're not thick enough.
They're gonna take a while. But you could
yeah.
throw your stuff, throw some stuff in there, but those liners are pretty big.
I wouldn't trust it, but I don't like a mess in my freezer either, though. I'm not willing to try it, so. She said if you're on more of a budget, beef, of course, is way more expensive, so if you keep your chicken and pork to like 75% of your meat, and then 25% beef if you want to kind of stay on a budget, it kind of helps if you're planning out meals that way. She said that's just a little thing a trick she uses a lot. So, I think that's,
Okay, now we're gonna tell you what we found out.
okay, did you have a question for?
Yeah, you said freeze it in the shape of the crock pot. So does that mean you put the whole crock pot in your freezer? And
I don't.
then how do you freeze it in the shape of a crock pot?
I just, ish.
Shoebox.
Shape-ish. Yeah, you can use a box. I've used like
The bag that I just brought out, I actually just sat it on a shelf and it just made that shape because mine is that kind of and it would fit in a round one, it would fit in an oblong one.
Okay.
It just, if you was to freeze it flat in the freezer,
Yeah. Yeah, then it's
it's
just
a bad thing.
awkward, yeah. Okay.
So that's what helps us to
I
keep it
just
standing.
stack mine. Maybe I just kind of stack food around them and then freeze them in that shape. I already have those frozen, so it.
Yeah.
Jamie, I bet you could use like your oats come in with a round, long one.
Yeah.
Or if you've got one of those
It might be
round
too
crock
tall
pots.
though, but then they could lay it sideways. Oh, you could.
Could.
Yeah.
You guys will get creative because.
You will, and
You
you'll
do.
know.
I've never done this.
You'll know. You really need to know your crock pot really well. So Ron and I have not worked. This is new to us.
We've had this kind of a learning curve.
Yeah.
And that's what we know, you better know your crock pot intimately.
Yeah. You better.
And I use mine all the time, and it's
So you know what? Yeah.
I'm gone a lot, and so a lot of times I have an hour in the morning, and that's all I've got. And so I'll put all my stuff in the crock pot, and everybody thinks I'm fabulous when I get home at night. After a game, it's fantastic. I love it. And it's great. So I use mine all the time. We're kind of bad that way. It's kind of a lazy man's way to cook, but it
No,
works.
no,
No,
Jamie.
no, it's not.
It's getting your family back to the table.
Well, and you can make them anything. You can make them super healthy. If that's what you're after, you can make them.
You control what goes in them,
Yes.
which is different than the freezer meals you buy from the store.
Very much
Stir
so.
things in there.
So anyway, I'm kind of. I'm on that
And
side.
if anything, Sister Eileen can testify too. So last month when we did this, we did all the meals from scratch. We didn't do any crock pot things.
And we did nothing beforehand.
Yeah. So then we come here, that kitchen looked like Hiroshima.
My kitchen at home looked like
and mine at home. And so when you come in tonight, just please browse by the kitchen. I mean, it is like no big thing. Nothing. And I only stayed till 10 o'clock cleaning up. We'll be out of here, no big deal.
And when we got here, we were exhausted. We had been cooking for 2 days straight.
Yeah.
I made all my meals last week.
Yeah, no big deal. And us too. And we had a meeting this morning in Pocatello. We both went to the meeting, sat there, no cash, no big deal.
No panic.
We're not panicked. We got 3 meals in the crock pot one day. No big deal. So it's a time saver. And sisters, that's kind of what our focus has turned to
It's time.
is time. And we'll tell you a little bit about that in a minute when I find
I have to tell you
no.
some more things I learned about freezer meals. I went on Pinterest. And they showed, so like we did 8 different meals. When they get ready to do their crock pot meals, and this is what I did. I did 10 crock pot meals in 2.5 hours. But I did 3, 2, 2. So instead of doing 8 different ones, I did 3 of the same, 3 of the same, 2 of the same, and 2 of the same. And so can you see that if you had 5 that you just loved and you did 2 of each, I really liked doing the 3. 3 is no more work than 2. And then you just have these things that you, and then what this did is it gave me the courage to think I could do it. So then I make their green chili pork. And I think, oh, wait, I have that pork barbacoa recipe. I could do that and freeze that. And I have a recipe for ribs. And I did Jamie's sister's ribs, and they are fabulous. But you'll be able to, once you use these, you taste them, you'll tweak them.
You can do meatloaf.
Meatloaf.
Who'd have thought?
Did you ever think you could do meatloafs? We did.
Yeah, we did.
And Lori and I live next door to each other. How many of you knew that? Yeah. And so what we do is, I'd call her and say, I got this ready, I'll be right over. And so then we'd come and we'd taste it. Then she'd bring her meatloaf over and we'd taste it, and Shannon tasted it. Our whole family has been tasting food all week because we've pre-cooked these things. And I have a white chicken chili recipe. And then we have, but I did Jamie's sisters. And when we did
All
these,
these are Jamie's sisters.
all of
recipes
these
that we did.
are Jamie's sisters' recipes. And on the bottom, we gave credit. It says, courtesy of Spoon and Spatula. I am not posting these on our blog. They are the creative property of Spoon and Spatula. But I'll have the recipes for hard copies. You can take hard copies. And I'll have extra hard copies for people that weren't here last time, so that you can take them. And you guys, so know that these are exactly like the recipe said, and you get to taste them all. And then if they're, like one of them is super spicy, say, oh, I'm not going to put quite that much of that in it. Okay? So you'll get to taste them, and the recipes are right there. I have a bunch of pens and pencils, so when you get to taste them, actually write down, I might do this different. This was too hot. I might put this in. Because that's what we do when we cook, isn't it? Yeah. So you're going to have a good time.
Another cool part about these recipes is kind of based off what we did last week. You can make these meals stretch. So in one, let's just say, for instance, when I go pull the meat out of that Fiesta chicken soup, what we'll do is pull one of those breasts out, put it in the fridge, and now you have just a cooked chicken breast that you can make a chicken salad out of, something for the next meal, and you'll be able to stretch these meals. Probably you can get another couple of meals
I did.
out of one.
In one of mine, chicken ones, I put 5 chicken breasts in it, and then I pulled that out. Well, actually, it was 2 chicken breasts that I just cut in 5 pieces.
They were huge.
Because they were great big. You know, they had them on sale at Ridley's last week for $1.37 a pound, I think. But they were like giant. So I just cut them in 5 pieces. And then we had a dinner on Saturday night. We ate them again Monday on salad. And I fried them with onions on Wednesday. So, you guys, this is a way that you can stretch and do fun things with food so that you have more time.
And the time thing is super important, and that's kind of what we, so, do we want to talk about the dinner stuff?
Yeah, we're going to have Tennille come. And then we'll
Do her first?
Yeah.
So, when you have enough time, you're the hero, just like Jamie said. You seem like you're the hero. So now, to please your husband, we're gonna, Sister Tennille Williams is another one of our community members that we're so proud of. And you know her as a wonderful vocalist. She's a beautiful singer. And she also teaches my little granddaughter in preschool, and so she's part of the community that way. And we just love her and having her. And she is going to teach us. My daughter in another ward, the other state, said they had this class about it was around coupon cutting and some of this other stuff, and I know it's way different than that. But I said, well, who did that? And she said, well, Sister Williams did. I said, well, we want her to come and do that to us. So we called her. She graciously accepted, and if she will come and do her thing now, we're going to learn a little bit about that, and then we'll talk some
Okay,
more.
before she starts, I want you to know I went into the coupon craze. It took me hours. I spent hours. And then it would take me hours when I went shopping. She has another different idea for you. And it's like it was last time. I know that you probably have some things, but if you'll just listen to her, then you can ask her questions at the end, okay?
Okay, just a second, I just dropped all my meal plans.
Okay.